guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley. If you are new, welcome, and if you're not new, thank you so much for coming back for another video. So in today's video, we're talking about my March eyeshadow palettes, what palettes I picked up in March, and I actually I did a video on each of these palettes, so you guys can check those out if you're interested in more information. But in this video, we're going to be talking about my final thoughts on the palettes as I've tried them a few more times after those videos and kind of ranking them to see which ones I like the best. All right, so if you are interested in seeing that, definitely stay tuned. Alright guys, so I broke this up because I did like 9 eyeshadow videos, actually 9 eyeshadow palette purchases in March, and I broke it up into like cool tones versus warm toned palettes. Some of them I had to just kind of put them in a category because I couldn't really decide. They kind of warm, kind of cool, so whatever. Alright, so I'm going to start off with my top cool tone palette from March and then my top warm tone palette from March, and I have notes in my little notes. That's what I'm looking down. Alright, so the first palette I am wearing it today, it is the Colored Raine Safari Raine palette. As far as warm tone palettes from March, this has to take the cake. This is so beautiful. I guess I could dock a little bit of points because it's not super everyday because of the greens, you know, but I feel like you can make it work even for everyday because, hey, I'm about to go to work and I got a little bit of green, you know, I got some of the Congo basin up in the transition area, got some of this one, the orange clay shade in the transition area, matriarch on the outer corner, which is that dark color, and then we've got the metallic shades right down there, lioness and Amazon basin. The quality here is just amazing. The blendability of the matte is there, the pigmentation is very much so there, so I just had to give the #1 spot for my warm palettes from March to the Safari Raine palette by Colored Raine, and this is, I think, $39. You can get a 10% off coupon, you know, using an affiliate code, or if you want, you can just hold off, get on their mailing list and see if they're going to have a sale, because recently they did have a 30% off sale. Of course, this whole collection was excluded, so probably just to give some people some time, you know, like, hey, these people just bought it for $39, we can't turn around and give like a 30% off to everybody else. So maybe later in the year they might have this, you know, on sale if you're wanting to wait for that. But this one is really, really, really good. Like, I don't know if I did any swatches in that video. I'm just going to show you guys some of the metallics real quick. But girl, like the shine, the pigmentation. Okay, we've got 4 shades right there. I really like that green one. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. Like, really, really beautiful. Very creamy. Oh my gosh, very nice. Very nice on those metallics. The mattes as well, but I feel like the metallics are what kind of draw us in sometimes, some people. So, alright, so I'm going to have to say my #1 cool toned palette from March is the Kevyn Aucoin Magnify, or Emphasize palette in Magnify. And here it is. So it's a real little palette, very compact, but you get this nice, you know, liquid shadow. And I did do swatches in that video, so I will put that video up here in the eye. But this is a really nice palette. I like that, you know, it has that nice purple tone in there, especially with this shimmery shade here. It has a lot of nice purple glitter in it, and it does look more purple, and I'm feeling, you know, I'm kind of feeling purple right about now. So yeah, I really like it. And even though it's only 5 eyeshadow shades, I feel like it's really good for you to get a complete look. The metallics blend nicely, or, you know, layer nicely. They have a decent shine to them, a nice shine, especially with this, you know, middle shade there that I just spoke about. A lot of reflectivity with that shade, different, you know, glitters catching the light and stuff. Very beautiful. And then of course you have this liquid shadow here, which you can use with this palette. You can use it with however you want to use it, but it's really nice as well. So yeah, interested, definitely check out that video. I've got swatches of all the shades plus the little, like, a swatch of that liquid shadow. So those are my top 2, but The other ones aren't far behind it. I just had to do some type of ranking. So in terms of warm palettes, we're going to go to the Charlotte Tilbury Icon palette. Now, I did one look on my channel with this palette, but I have used it a few times after that, and it's really good. I know I dogged out that Pillow Talk palette, and rightfully so, because it kind of stunk. But this really, really nice. I don't know if I'm going to get anything else from Charlotte Tilbury unless she, you know, not any of the quads. I think I'm going to skip out on the quads and just stick with this one. This is really, really good. These pigmentation here of these matte, well, they're not even really matte shades. They're like a satin matte type of shade. The pigmentation is really there. I just used this palette again on Sunday, and I got a beautiful look using this shade, and I think and then this one, or was it this one on the brow bone? Anyways, very, very beautiful. You're gonna get some fallout with this, and that colored Raine palette. I did have a lot of fallout using my finger with those shades, but anyways, you're gonna get some fallout with this, but I think it's a good shade, or a good palette if you like a warm tone palette with like a pop of blue and stuff. I think this is very everyday friendly, and I like it a lot. I like it a lot. I'll show you guys a couple of swatches. You know, we've got 3 different textures in this palette. I think this one I'm swatching here is more of a satin. Oh, that got a nice, you know, payoff there. And then these 3 that I'm swatching here are like the glittery shades that are at the top, you know, on the top row. And so the ones that are on the top row, you're going to get a lot more fallout, but they're still very pretty. As you can see, the swatches are very nice. So if you're looking for a warm tone palette that you can take tonight with that, like, you know, last row, then I think this would be a good one. I like this one. Early in the month, I did the Steeletto eyeshadow, you know, an eyeshadow look, trying new makeup. And I do like obviously the Kevyn more than this one, even though this has more shades. Some of these, you know, I could pass on. Like, you know, these 2 shades here look very similar. This one is a little bit more taupe, this one is a little lighter, but they still have a very similar look to them. So really the thing that drew me to this palette is basically this shade here. This shade is just like a pearl, not a pearl, like a satin white, off-white type of a shade. This shade looks like it's purple, but it comes off really kind of gray. Similar, I mean, the Kevyn one does too, with that little other matte purple shade, but I just feel like this shade and this shade are a bit redundant. These 2 shades there, I could do without this shade, and you know, so if I was going between the Kevyn and this one, obviously I would pick the Kevyn. ColourPop. This is such a beautiful palette. The reason I didn't put this higher up in my list is because, I mean, it's only on number 3, but because it's not going to be really every day for, you know, depending on what you do, it could be every day, but the quality is very much so here. I like the duochrome nature of these 2 shades there. I did a makeup playtime with this palette, and it's so beautiful. I think it's one of my favorite makeup playtimes because it just came together so nicely. I really like purple, but I'm not going to get a lot of use out of this, so that's why I didn't put it higher up, you know, to be one of my top, you know, cool tone palettes. But it's still in the top 3 for cool tones for March, and yeah, I like it. I can't get a one-tone look with this palette using this shade all over the lid, but not with like a white base. If you do a white base, it's just going to come off as pink, but the way it blends with my skin tone, I can use it as like an all-over shade for a monochromatic look on the eyes. So yeah, but not super everyday friendly. Yes, but I do like this palette, and I would highly recommend it. Very high quality mattes, very shiny, nice, bright, you know, catching the light type of a shimmer, and yeah, I like it. So the last 2 palettes for cool tones for me was the Natasha Denona number 1 eyeshadow palette 5, and then the Riviera palette. This is pretty low on my list, surprisingly, and I guess you know, I really haven't really touched it much since the video I did, the 2 videos that I've done on it. I like this, but this might be one of my least favorites from Anastasia's Beverly Hills, just because I'm not going to use all those colors very frequently, so it's not as everyday friendly as all of her other palettes. For me, some of these metallics, I mean, I mentioned this in my video, they're not as high shine as I expected, as I remember from Sultry. So I'll show you guys some swatches of these metallics. I don't think I did any swatches on in my video, but here's some of these swatches. I mean, they go on beautifully, like super easily, and the pigmentation is there, but they're not as bright, and I mean, they're bright in tone, but not high in shine. And so, you know, this palette is nice. I did have some trouble in my video. You guys saw, I think, with this purple tone here, and I did hear from other people that they were having trouble with this purple tone as well, that it can be a little bit patchy, doesn't want to stick to where you put it. And then in some instances it would turn a little bit dark. This is just lower on the totem pole for me. I'm happy that I have it just because, you know, I have a lot of ABH palettes, so I'm happy to add this one to my collection. If I want to do like a colorful look with ABH palettes, this is not something that I would run back out and get if I lost it. You know, it is what it is. But if you like the colors and stuff like that, definitely go for it. I'm sure you'll like it. But this is, you know, it's nice to have, not necessary for me. And then this one, I like this one. I like this one, but I put it lower just again because I can't use it every single day, but it is very nice. I did a colorful look with this, not a Sunday fun day, although it could have been a Sunday fun day. I did that video. I'll link it up here. And yes, I like the shades. I did get fallout and stuff, but this shade is really pretty. If you're into this tone, it has a nice gold shift to it. And then this blue is very pigmented, very nice. If you're looking for a nice navy blue palette or navy blue matte, this is very beautiful, blended out very nicely. And I like these two shades here. This one has a nice, like some bluish glitters in it that really make it very different. It's not like a flat matte, like metallic shade. It has some glitter reflex in there that are bluish, okay? And then this one is beautiful as well. So I think the quality is here with this palette. I like it a lot. I just won't be using it all the time just because, like I said, of the color scheme, but it's really good. And if you're interested in this color scheme, I do recommend this palette. Now we've got the last two most expensive. I mean, well, is it most expensive? Not really, okay? This one is, okay? This one is. I like this palette. I do like it. I didn't put it up higher because... Why didn't I put it up higher? Because it doesn't have a lot of shimmers. That's why I didn't put it up higher. It doesn't have a lot of metallics. If you're into mattes and stuff and you just like, okay, metallics, I can take them or leave them, then this would be great. I like that they have this row here of the cooler tones in the palette so that you have everything you need as far as like natural looks in this palette. Most of them are warm tones. They all look warm except for that last row. So that's why I put it with the warms. But I like this palette a lot and I'm happy I have it. I'm going to put it in my stash haul for April so that I can get some more use out of it. But I've used it several times since I did my video. I really like it with my Laying Low paint pot as my base, and then the shadows show up very nicely. So in my video, my first impression with this, I had concealer on, which has a, you know, concealer is pigmented. It has a pigmentation to it. I used my chestnut concealer, so my eyes were still brown. You know, my eyelids were still, you know, brown, obviously. But when I use my Laying Low paint pot, it gives more of a white, like off tone to my lids. And then when I put this on, the shades on top of it, then they really pop and you get that color differentiation that you guys really weren't seeing when I did my video. So it's up to you guys whether you want to do that. If you wanted to put on a lighter eyeshadow base for you to see the pigmentation, I don't have a problem with that. The reason being is because if they made eyeshadow palettes that, you know, every tone showed up on our skin tone, I think, maybe I'm wrong, you guys let me know. If they make a palette with every single tone that shows up well on my skin tone that you guys can see, then it would be too dark for somebody of a fairer skin tone. So I like that she has the deeper shades in this palette that do show up very nicely on my skin tone, but then if I put a lighter base down, then I can see the differentiation between some of these lighter tones, which I think there's only like 3. There's only like 3 that was like, okay, well, I wish the pigmentation was a little bit higher, but you know, I like this palette. That's all I can say about it. I like this palette. I know it's not a fan favorite of everybody. It's not a necessity. We'll circle back to the ABH. So I guess the same thing I'm experiencing with that one, with some of the shades not showing up as pigmented as you might want. We got the same thing here with this palette here. We've got 3 shades right there that hardly show up, you know, as the tone that you see in this palette. Okay, so this tone here is a decent transition shade, but when I use this one or this one, you can't, I mean, they just look kind of like, they just look kind of pale. I won't say pasty, but you know, kind of dusty, a little bit more. They just kind of look the same because they are so light. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be the same thing with some of these, with a lot of palettes that aren't very rich, deep shades for some deeper skin tones. I mean, hey, it is what it is. And finally, Pat McGrath. So I put this last, and it has nothing to do with the quality. The quality is very much so there. I did do swatches in my video, I think I did swatches. If not, let me do a couple for you real quick. I just really like swatching the metallics, so that's what I'm sticking with, okay? Alright, so here's some swatches of this palette. Can you tell me that those are not beautiful? I don't know. Maybe you can, but the palette is very nice. I do recommend this, but only to people who are very curious about Pat McGrath and don't want to pay the full-on price for one of her abbreviated palettes or her full-on mothership. So you might be curious, and this is the Ecstasy kit. I'm talking about you can't buy the palette by itself. The Ecstasy kit was $48 or $49. You get that mini palette, which has 6 grams of product total. Each pan is 1 gram. And I said all this in my video. I don't know why I'm saying it again. But I put this last because to those of us who really like Pat McGrath, who probably have a good majority of her palettes, you don't need this, because I feel like this shade is a repeat shade here. And then you can get similar looks with some of her other palettes. I feel like there's a lot of golds in her palettes in her existing range already. So this shade and this shade you could probably dupe out with like the Bronze Ambition palette, or even with the Dark Star palette. And these 2 shades you can get from her other palettes. The quality is, it's Pat McGrath quality, so I'm not knocking anything for that, but I don't really need this palette. And the only reason I would recommend it to somebody who has all of her stuff is if you want travel, something easy for travel. But I don't mind carrying some of my palettes for travel, so so I really didn't need this one, but it is good, very good. So if you've never tried Pat McGrath and you want to try that mascara, you want to try her formula, and even with that little pot of the Angel Dust, it's similar to one of her special shades. I feel like that eyeshadow dust or Angel Dust, whatever it is, prismatic pigment, is very similar to the special shades that you get in her full-on mothership palettes, but it's in a loose form. So it has a lot of dimension to it. It has a lot of shine, picks up the light very, very nicely. But that kit, you know, it was not, the eyeshadow palette was not a necessity for me. So anyways, guys, those are all 9 eyeshadow palettes, and I hope I wasn't rambling and all that stuff. I hope I gave you guys some good information about my thoughts on all those palettes. Once again, I will put as many links as I can in the I think you can only get 5, so I will have to put them all in the description box. So if you want to see the videos that I did on each of those palettes, definitely check the description box. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want to see more content from me, I upload videos 3 to 4 times per week. So definitely hit that subscribe button. And if you want to get notified, hit the bell, set up your notification settings, and you will get the notifications. All right, I'll be talking to you guys really, really soon. Let me know once again your thoughts on these palettes. Okay, how do you think that, how was your ranking? Okay, if you have any of these palettes, what were your favorite eyeshadow palettes from the month of March? Okay, let me know in the comment section, and I will be talking to you guys really, really soon. Thank you so much for watching. See ya.